All right, and we're live. Let's make sure it's going out okay on the old YouTubes here. Come on. All right, sounds good. Not sure how many people is going to be listening today. I'm sure a lot of people have 4th of July plans. I have 4th of July plans myself, but not right now. I have 4th of July plans in the evening. I intend to, eat some grilled chicken and beef and bunch of other stuff at a friend's house. We're gonna light off some fireworks, probably shoot my fucking gun, have a big old freedom boner the whole time. I love this country. I really do. Look, this country has problems, no doubt. No doubt. We got a lot of problems we need to fix. But where the fuck else would I want to be? If you have a magical land that's way better, you by all means send me directions. But where else would I want to live? Would I want to live in Canada? Yeah, I want to live in Canada with a prime minister that literally looks like he films cuckold porn as the cuck. Or, go live in Europe where it's illegal to look at memes, And I mean, the whole rest of the world is a shithole, basically. I mean, okay, maybe you got Japan, but they don't want me there. They actually would rather their country stay Japanese. Can't say I blame them. Where the hell else would I want to be than good old fucking Murica? All right. Where I'm sitting here petting my gun while bald eagle screeches off in the distance. Where else would I want to be? Yeah. Let's see. Shoot my fucking gun is code for jerking off in a public park. Let's see. I shoot off real guns here. It's okay, Corral, on the 4th of July. No, I actually am probably going to shoot one of my actual real guns. Behind my friend's house where I'll be eating, he, it's nothing but like cornfields and woods and shit around his house. So I've never had to go to a shooting range. I think I've gone like once, but I don't have to in practice. Matt Forney says the problem with America is you have to live around Americans. I'd rather that than live around Europeans. Fuck Europe. Fuck Europe. Medicare was right. Get fucked, Europe. Get fucked. All right. And at this point, you have to live around Africans. Somebody else in the chat says. Yeah. God bless America. Where the fuck else would I want to be? My glorious freedom boner here. So, some non-4th of July topics I want to talk about. Somebody says, why so early, Bechtloff? Because I ain't going to work today. So, yeah, that's why so early. Let's see. So, anyway, some non-4th of July topics I want to talk about. So, the new issue of Batman came out this week. There's the regular Batman comic, because there's a million Batman comics, Detective Comics. There's, I don't know, shitload of other series, but just regular old Batman, just meat and potatoes Batman there. And he was gonna get married to Catwoman, and on the off chance you give a fuck, I'm not even gonna spoil it. Point is, what exactly happened in this issue gets spoiled by the New York Times because DC just leaked it to him. Now, this was a spoil that didn't make a lot of fans happy. And again, it was a plot thread spoiled. So the concern was that this issue was hyped up. This issue was massively hyped up. And a lot of comic stores, they bought a million fucking variant covers and just pounds of them. They thought, oh, we're going to sell these like hotcakes. And then DC spoils this shit. And immediately the concern with retailers is they were going to be, because people were calling, canceling, saying, I don't want it no more. They were concerned that, oh shit, we're going to be stuck with all these books we can't sell. I don't know how that's panned out. I know that I went to the comic book store today, my comic book store. I call it Joe's. That's not its name. It's just the owner's name, Joe. So, me and everyone I know calls it Joe's. But I went to Joe's today, and then I went there. I got there like 12:30, and he was already sold out of all the ones he ordered. I don't know how many he ordered. The guy at the counter said it was very busy that morning, so they didn't get screwed over, and good for them. But that may screw over a lot of comic shops, and that's not good for the industry. DC, do you want another crash? Because this is how you get another crash. Now, thankfully, it was just in the New York Times, and who the fuck reads the New York Times? The only people that read the New York Times are aging boomers, and maybe some young folks who are hipster leftists, the kind that pretend to be into comics because they want to subvert it, but they've never actually been to a comic book store. So hopefully it wasn't that big of a deal. It was still a really shitty thing DC did. And, hopefully a lot of comic stores didn't get screwed as a result. Somebody says you have to work today. No, I don't work today. Which kind of sucks because I'm still a temp there, so I don't get paid. Short week, but whatever. Let's see. Let's see. Matt Forney is over here white knighting for Europe. Like, seriously, dude? Like, you might want to calm down, Forney. I don't want you to be arrested for hate speech. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about? He says, amazed there are any comic stores left at this point. They do okay. People forget that, there was a crash in the 90s, obviously, and large swaths of them were wiped out. But all through the 2000s, comics were on a perpetual upswing. It's even now the superheroes are popular. It's just the comics suck so bad. But all through the 2000s, things were constantly moving up. Hell, in my county alone, and remember, I live in a pretty rural fucking place. I live in Lancaster County, PA, right? Kind of rural out here. I have 3 comic book stores in my county alone. I have the one I mentioned, Joe's. I think it's just called The Comic Store, which is a terrible name. Joe's is better. But it's been around since 1989. It's the big one. There's another one called Fourth Wall Comics, which is pretty decent. They're pretty new, but they seem to be doing quite well. There's Complete in Box up in the northern end of the county, which is not entirely a comic book store. It has a full selection of comic books. It has a comic book section, but it's also like a retro game store, a video game store, plus there's like free to play arcade shit there. There's all sorts of animu they sell and stuff. It's just a general nerd store, as it were. Somebody says I buy comics once in a while, but mostly avoid SJW and Marvel. Yeah, I don't really read much in the way of Marvel. I picked up Cosmic Ghost Rider #1 this week because I've heard a lot of good things about that, spinning off of the Thanos series. And I read Scarlet Spider that came out this week, but I don't really buy. And I used to be a huge Marvel guy, but not now. Justice League's really, really great. #3 came out, and I'm looking forward to reading that tonight. The current Justice League series is fantastic so far. I enjoy IDW's Ghostbusters a tremendous amount. Pardon me. What else? I should have grabbed a drink before I started. Ghostbusters. There's a Pumpkinhead comic over at Dynamite. It's pretty good. There's some decent stuff. Dark Ark, I've mentioned before, is a fantastic read. Really cool premise. The idea is them, during the time of Noah's Ark, there was a second ark run by a dark warlock and his family, and he was charged with preserving all the supernatural beasts. So it's an ark full of monsters, And he's trying to maintain the peace on there. It's very interesting. So he says, do you think comic book stores will start selling illegally printed old comics to keep the lights on? I don't think they're going to have a problem with that. Again, there's plenty of general nerdery that they can sell. Even if the current comics don't sell well, so long as movies and TV shows keep any kind of interest in his life, people will at least want to check out back issues and shit. I mean, I know my buddy, the one that runs that comic stand. I mean, it doesn't exactly pay the bills for him, but it makes him more than a few side bucks to be selling back issues. So, and I mean, he just does it on Saturday, at a flea market. So there is interest in the characters and all. Matt Forney says, celebrated 4th of July by eating McDonald's and deliberately mispronouncing the cashier's name. God bless the United States of saturated fat. Oh, Forney, you hipster. Have some damn patriotism on this day of all days. Somebody in the chat says, Jordan Owen was really affected by Matt Forney's shitposting the other day. Yeah, he seemed to be. He pulled out of doing streams again, so I can't defend him on that. Let's see. Go to the chat here. What else did I want to bring up? I baked a steak today. What? You baked a steak? What? Why would you do that? Why would you? You grill a steak. Or if you don't have access to a grill, at least on like a skillet. Baked it in the oven. What the fuck? No, don't do that. What the hell are you doing? Yeah, don't be doing that. Somebody asked if we can join in. I'm not really taking callers right now. Maybe later. Stove top not working. Don't you have a good skillet? I mean, I cook primarily in the skillet. A little bit of olive oil or grapeseed oil, maybe some peanut oil, depending on what I'm cooking. Maybe some butter. Maybe cook with some butter. I don't use vegetable oil. I had to break my dad of that habit. Even he always wanted to cook with fucking vegetable oil. First of all, that stuff is absolutely horrible for you, but it's not even good. Like once you start cooking with actual butter or olive oil or something like that, like you can't go back to just nasty ass fucking vegetable oil shit. Let's see. Or start a fire and cook it caveman style. Yeah, put it on a stick over a fire pit in your backyard. Bake a steak. The hell are you doing, man? What are you doing with your life? What the fuck are you doing, man? Matt Forney says if he was really trying to bully Jordan, he would have sent a super chat asking Jordan which brand of adult diapers he recommends. Oh, that's harsh. I did warn him before the show because I thought that might happen with super chats. I was like, look, Jordan, I have to read super chats. All right. Now, if any of, you may respond to any of them that are directed at you, but you don't have to. So, feel free to ignore them. I was trying to warn him, Yeah. So I've been on the anti-Catholic kick lately, I suppose. I don't know. I hopped into Davis's stream Saturday, and I wanted to argue with Dean, but Dean promptly beat feet out of there. Whatever. Supposedly he had to go beforehand. I think it's suspicious the moment somebody pops on that wants to call bullshit on his stuff, he leaves. But whatever. Maybe he just really had to go. But the one thing here's something I got to give credit to Davis on. I got to give absolutely, and I very much respect Davis. So when I get in there and I'm I mentioned, say, the pedophilia scandals, and the real scandal there is the cover up. Pedophilia is going to happen. Any organization that large, is bound to have problems like that pop up. The damnable thing is the cover up, the systematic cover up that took place numerous times in different locations, which leads me to believe it was actually policy within the church, high-reaching policy. But the thing about it is I bring that up. I bring up the fags, that have infiltrated, up as high as 50% of the total leadership, according to conservative Catholic sources. And Davis doesn't make excuses, maybe a little bit. I mean, he is defending it, but he doesn't really make excuses for it. He sits there and says, yes, these are problems. We need to fix it, all this kind of stuff. He doesn't deny it. He doesn't hand wave it away. And I see that from a lot of Catholics. And honestly, I was arguing with Anti-Dem on the Bechtloff Facebook page yesterday. And, he was giving me that exact shit. He was giving me essentially the argument of, well, no church is perfect. And I finally said to him in kind of disbelief, I said, your church systematically covered up for pedophilia. Your church's leadership is up to 50% of the total leadership are practicing homosexuals. Lowest estimate, 15%, which is still 10 times the rate of the general population. And your church has shown, we know this about them. This isn't me speculating. We know this about them, that they will lie, they will cover up, and they will even obstruct justice to protect their image. And you wave that away with, well, nobody's perfect. There's a pretty big difference between expecting perfection and having some bare minimum of standard. And like I said, I got to give Davis credit. He does not wave this shit away with an excuse. And I really respect the hell out of him for that. So, the whole, oh, well, nobody's perfect. Like, really? That's your fucking defense here? And the other thing, Davis was arguing that, okay, they were faced with this situation where, it was kind of just a moral weakness. It wasn't absolute evil. They just, there was this terrible thing and they didn't want to embarrass the church, blah, blah, blah. The problem with that becomes one of credibility then. If we know that they will lie, they will cover things up, they will even obstruct justice to defend their reputation, and then we see things like pedophilia being covered up, we see things like gay orgies at the Vatican, and by the way, somebody in Davis's chat said that was bullshit. I could show you the articles. And we see that according to conservative Catholic sources, pro-Catholic sources, as high as 50% of the total leadership structure is homosexual. And these are the things we know about an organization that we know is more than willing to lie and cover things up to defend its reputation. And doesn't that sort of beg the question, as it were, what else are they lying to you about? Isn't that the real question then? If that's what you know, if that's what we know about them, then what do we not know? Is there spirit cooking going on? That kind of shit? You know, what do we not know? But anyways, I don't want to harp on that too much. Just you know, because I was arguing with Auntie Dem yesterday, so it's just some. Come on, I bring something up here. Let's see. I just got a message from Pastor Tom there. That's what I was reading. Sorry, folks. Let's see. I know dead air. Very, you know, the perils of being live. Let's see. Where is that one article I want to talk about? Something. Here we go. I might have read this already, but this is off of the Guardian.com, and Giles Fraser is the guy's name. And boy, does he look bugman as hell. Christians must understand that for Jews, the cross is a symbol of oppression. Few ideas have been as poisonous as or inspired more murderousness than the idea that Jews were the Christ killers. Well, if the shoe fits, Jesus wasn't a Christian. That word exists for his followers and came later. He was Jewish. His mother was Jewish. He was circumcised as a Jew. He pretty much followed the Jewish law, departing from it only in the name of what he says, or what he saw as its deeper meaning. See, I don't understand this nonsense of like this Christian, you know, anti-Semitism. You know, if anything, certainly in the modern day, Christians are too fucking buddy with Jews. It would do the evangelical church a lot of good if they could be convinced of the fact that Jews are not their friends, and that the Judaism they find in the Old Testament is not modern Judaism. It's pretty far removed from it. Somebody in the chat says, in defense of Catholics, it wouldn't surprise me if the powers that be have been putting degenerates in positions of power in the Catholic Church as an attempt to discredit Christianity. Well, I'm sure that's an element of it. You know, but again, they allowed it. They let it happen. Let's see. Going through the chat here a little bit. Bechtloff, what are your thoughts on dockable strap-ons? I don't exactly know what. Somebody says, how you fix dead air is you rant. Somebody says the next crusade will be against the Pope. I don't want to get too. I don't want to become too broken record on just shitting on the Catholics right now. Let's see. Bechtloff, you can't convince evangelicals to abandon the Israel worship because an obsession with Jews is baked into the very fabric of Protestantism, going back to Martin Luther. Really, because Protestants didn't give much. Protestants didn't think very highly of the Jews for about 400 years of Protestantism. It's kind of only this past century that took hold. Somebody says, if I could go back in time and meet Hitler, I wouldn't kill him. I'd tell him the history and make him watch a bunch of Spielberg movies. I like this one comic I saw where it was like Hitler in art school, and like a Jew appears out of like, and it's like Terminator style time travel, like he's naked, and he comes out of a big lightning ball and attacks him, like a time traveling Jew tries to kill him, and Hitler's like, that is the third time a random naked Jew has attacked me this week. Something needs to be done about those people. So he says, I got to tap out now. That's fine. WikiLeaks has some emails from the election talking about the subversion of the Catholic Church. Protestantism, more specifically Calvinism, was about Judaizing Christianity by removing pagan Catholic interests, that is, established historical fact. About restoring Christianity to its roots, yes. The Puritans explicitly compared themselves to Jews, for example. Well, none of that's necessarily wrong. Okay, there's nothing wrong with considering, the Jews in antiquity your historical, not historic, your kind of spiritual fathers in the faith, because they are. Christianity is, I would argue, the evolution, for lack of a better term, the fulfillment is perhaps a better word, of Judaism. Modern Judaism is an evil. The Judaism of antiquity is not. No, Jack Chick loves to go on about Catholicism's paganism. Well, he's not wrong. Calvinism is most certainly a heresy with predestination, but the removal of idolatry was necessary. I kind of agree with that. I sort of, I'm not a Calvinist in that as I read the Bible teaches both predestination and man's free will. And while there is a certain logical paradox involved in that, how can you truly be free if things are predestined? How can things be predestined if I'm free to make any decision? There is a certain paradox to that. That said, though, you're also dealing with an entity that exists outside of time. So, kind of makes sense you wouldn't understand it. I think people fall into error when they try to make predestination and free will fit each other by diminishing one or both. Show them the Talmud. That was a big game changer in the relationship between Christians and Protestants. I'm not sure what you mean there. Let's see. Let's see. That's my different problem with Christianity right there. You guys, with small differences, accuse each other of heresy and blasphemy. I don't really use the heresy and blasphemy words very. I don't necessarily throw those around. I prefer to just say error. I don't necessarily believe the Catholics are outright in heresy. I don't believe they're outright outside of Christ's grace. Some of them are, and according to some sources, as high as 50% of their leadership. But let's see, Bechtloff, what are your thoughts on Molinism, the idea that God predestines people? And he removed the thing. I didn't catch what you said there then. Somebody says, I'm a boomer Amishman who converted to Catholicism and loves Pope Francis. Israel first. Feel free to rant now. The current Pope is a heretic. Yes, most definitely. Yeah, most definitely with the current Pope. Francis was a good boy. He didn't do nothing. So he says, thoughts on Japan being atheist, yet seemingly moral. I don't necessarily know that they're atheist. And then somebody responds, Japan has one of the least charitable, has tons of suicides. They've also been very vile up until they were westernized. I wouldn't say they were necessarily vile before that, but they were brutal, is perhaps a better word to put it. And I don't know that I'd call modern Japan all that moral. They're very polite. They're very civil, but I wouldn't call them necessarily very moral. Japan isn't even atheist. They're surprisingly spiritual despite no established religion. Japan equal Christian, Confucius, and Shintoism. Yeah, I guarantee you Christianity far outweighs atheism in Japan. And Christianity is hardly a large segment there. It is the third biggest religion there, I believe, though. I think you're right on that. Confucianism and Shintoism. Actually, no, Buddhism probably. I would guess Buddhism has more followers in Japan than Christianity. That's just a guess off the top of my head, though. I could be completely wrong on that. That'd just be where, if I was a betting man, I'd put some money down. So he says, Forney, why is Forney lurking in the chat? He should be dialed in. Christianity is only less than 1% of the population in Japan. Now it's a touch higher than that, I believe. It's let's see. I did not invite Forney, did I? I wasn't really inviting anybody in right away. I'll send him a chat. I'll send him a link. He can hop in for a bit. Many are called, few are chosen for the Bechtloff show. Let's see. But yeah, there's not an insignificant amount of Christianity in Japan. Serious questions from a Fedora. I've heard what you said about the age of the universe, how death seems intertwined in everything, predestination versus free will. Those are some of my questions that keep me from converting. How do you do it? Well, the age of the universe kind of, that I'm not a literal creationist. I view Genesis as true, but not literal, if that makes sense. I'm hardly the biggest Jordan Peterson fanboy in the world, but I think his interpretations of Genesis are very interesting, and they're probably close to where I'm at. The predestination versus free will thing was a big question for me. And I used to ask Christians this question. Now, bear in mind where I'm at, I'm mostly dealing with, in this area, I was mostly dealing with evangelical type Christians. And when I was in high school, the Left Behind stuff and was all the rage. And I would ask them, I would say, okay, so in Revelations, the devil is prophesied to do all these various things, right? We go through what they would believe the devil would be doing in the end times. And I said, well, then couldn't the devil just not do that? And then he proves God wrong? Like, now some of them would go with the complete, kind of Calvinist thing. The devil's just God's puppet, no free will, and this sort of horse shit. Some of them would say he just can't help it or whatever. But really none of them had an answer to it. And certainly none of them had. Even I knew enough about the Bible to know that, free will and responsibility is clearly taught in there. And what it boiled down to when I converted is that I just simply had to admit I didn't know. I believe that the kind of evolutionary models and the billions and billions of years old age of the universe models, all these things, I believe they're true. As far as I can see, that's where the evidence points. I also believe Christ was a literal person who was literally on the earth and literally was murdered and then got better. How exactly those things fit together, I don't know. How exactly free will and predestination fit together, I don't know. And I would argue that anyone who thinks they know is diminishing one or both of those things. They're falling into error. If they think they know how those things fit together, they're wrong. And at a certain point, I just kind of had to accept I don't know as okay. That maybe there's certain things I'm never gonna know and I don't need to know. And that wasn't an easy pill for me to swallow. I wanted everything to fit neatly into a little box. But everything doesn't. Let's see. Forney, if you do want to hop in, I did send you a link. You can hop in if you want. Asia would benefit greatly from Christian values. Everyone would. Christianity also has a stronghold in South Korea. This is true, and it's. I think it's got more of a footing in China than any of us know. I think there's a huge vein of Christianity just below the surface in China. Hey, Forney, what's going on?
Happy America Day.
Damn right.
I hope you've been pollinating some flowers with your seed of freedom.
Damn right, man. What is it Medicare said? I'm going to shoot my gun and eat a hamburger and stare at some glorious tits.
I've been introducing Hungarians to American freedom by loudly denying the Holocaust. By the way, it was nice knowing you.
The Holocaust, the one historical event so true, no one's allowed to question it. Let's see. Going through the chat here. So how are things over in Europe? How's the magazine going?
Life is good. Terror House is growing by leaps and bounds. We got some great. I'm actually still working my way through for all the submissions I've been getting since last week, and there's a ton of them. You got stuff from T.J. Martinell today. Another set of poems will be going up in the afternoon. I'm actually be appearing on Aaron Clary's older brother podcast in a couple weeks or so to talk about it. And we've got some manuscripts for the publisher. Traffic keeps climbing. People love what we're doing.
Nice.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It's doing a lot better than I thought it would. It's certainly growing a lot faster than I thought it would, which kind of confirms my suspicion that this whole thing was in fact very necessary.
People want art and entertainment that isn't full of soy.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, people are hungry for it.
In fact, actually, on Sunday, we're going to be actually awarding our first Best of Terror House prize. One of the lucky people who've submitted work in the past couple of months will be getting paid 10 buckaroos, which is completely unheard of in the lit mag world. Everyone expects writers to work for free, but we don't. We're also broke, so that's why we only award the prize as a monthly thing. But hey, we're working up there. So we're going to announce the winner on Sunday. And if y'all want to get that $10 in your hand, you want to help create the future of literature and arts, send in your work to terrorhousemag.com. Our next award will be for July. Will be given out on. What is day is it? I think it's either March 5th, August 5th or August 12th. It's going to be great times.
Nice. Somebody in the chat says, "What would you do if you had Jordan Peterson Patreon money, $20K a month?" Well, shit, man. If I had $20K a month coming in for this would definitely be my full-time job. And it would definitely be a higher level of professionalism and hell for even way less than that. I think for probably like $800 a month, I could probably guarantee people like an actual essentially talk radio show, like probably like 3 hours, 5 days a week with actual, tons of articles and shit to talk about, pre-prepared, not just mouthing off the top of my head like an idiot.
Three entire hours a day. That seems like a bit much. I mean, even Cantwell at his peak was only doing his show three days a week.
Actually, I say 3 hours. That is a bit much. I would probably say maybe an hour and a half to it. Because if you look at actual talk radio, it's probably
you got the commercial breaks,
only slightly over an hour of actual content in there. Chunk. But I could probably do at least an hour and a half, 5 days a week of good, solid talk radio type shit. And I mean, that I could probably do for like, $800 a month Patreon. I mean, because just I could do that and a part-time job and be living quite comfortably.
Oh yeah. I'm probably
certainly $1,000 a month. I could do it.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna restart doing my live show soon enough. I kind of had to hang it up for the past couple weeks because my internet, the internet here in my apartment was just completely fritzing. There was like a point where like I did 3 streams in a week, and every stream I did, my internet would mysteriously shut off in the middle of it. Which you can't stream if that's happening. It hasn't happened with the last stream I did last week, which was a gaming stream. I'm actually gonna be streaming this afternoon, Deus Ex: Invisible War again to see what happens. But I mean, well, it wasn't as bad as like the internet problems I had in Ukraine over the weekend. Like the big stream of Arini on Sunday, part of the reason why I wasn't really contributing to it was because I just couldn't hear anyone. My audio was so garbled because my connection was so bad that I could only hear bits and pieces of what was going on. And I probably should have ducked out sooner because I really couldn't contribute anything to the conversation.
I still haven't heard the beginning of that. I heard maybe 20 minutes before I hopped in. And then obviously the part I was in, and even that I kind of got distracted by some other shit towards the end of it. I should have ducked out sooner too, but like I ended up like actually muting my mic and taking a phone call.
Well, I was kind of anticipating, honestly, with Esmaon that it was going to become a shit show, but apparently he's either, repentant or he's at least putting on a good show and is serious about like not, keeping old feuds alive. So like, yeah, whatever, All this shit's in the past. I don't have any
ill will towards Esme. I just think he was spouting out some bullshit. I wanted to call him on. I was kind of sad that he sort of ducked out shortly. No,
solution is to get him on your channel.
I might. In fact, I'd love to have him debate Pastor Tom on some things.
Yeah, I don't know. When I move to Ukraine, I can probably get this live stream going a bit more easily because my work schedule will allow me to. I'll be working a second shift at I won't say where, or what I'm doing, but I'll be working a second shift job, and I'll be able to come home and stream after that. And streaming in like 10, 11 p.m. at Ukraine is like 4 or 5 in the afternoon Eastern time, so it's convenient for all of you. Hoping where I end up, though, has better fucking internet than this place.
Let's see. Somebody says, Mad Forney, what time are you streaming it? You just said it. No.
It'll be at 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm back in Hungary, so the scheduling is a bit more convenient. Ukraine is an hour ahead of Hungary, so that makes appearing on like Bechtloff's show or Rini's show a bit more difficult. Particularly on a Rini show because I actually had to up and leave in the morning to go back home, which was a real adventure. I'll tell you that much. Well, going through Ukraine is always an adventure because it's like stepping into a portal from 30 years ago, where people don't have basic necessities like bread, and trains are kept are operating with rubber bands and snot. Yeah, I last week I went to Krakow to go to the Sanctuary of Divine Mercy, which is an important Catholic shrine dedicated to Saint Faustina, who was canonized as a saint fairly recently because she had mystical visions, and also there was a healing reported at her shrine about 30 years ago. And from Krakow, I went to Lviv, Ukraine, and then to this little town called Mukhakovo near the Hungarian border. And on the ride down from Lviv to Mukhakovo, I had to share. First off, you're on these disgusting trains that were clearly constructed when Brezhnev was still alive. They're dirty. The toilets are literally squat toilets. They don't provide toilet paper. You can smell them throughout the entire cabin. And in this case, I was stuck next to this like retarded-looking Gopnik dude who kept groping his Hungarian girlfriend, like just grabbing her tit in full view of everyone. I've just got I'm by the window, and I'm just trying to desperately not to look at this shit.
You ever see the movie Euro Trip?
I have not.
Well, there's a scene in it where they're on this train, and they're sitting next to this creepy European guy. He's sort of either like French or Italian. You can't even really tell. And he's played by Sacha Baron Cohen. And every time they go through a tunnel and things get dark, when it lights up again, like he's like rubbing up against one of them. And it's like, "Miscuse." Like, so then they start going through this, like, they come up to this long tunnel and shit. And as soon as like they're about to go into it, he like winks at them. And and that's the end of the scene.
Yeah, this was kind of like that. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm hoping, I noticed they don't have any luggage with them. So I'm like, okay, maybe they're just getting off the next stop. And nope, I ended up getting off the train before they did. Yeah, that's welcome to Ukraine. But Mukhakovo is nice. It's a small city about, I could say it's somewhat analogous to like Lancaster, only it doesn't have Puerto Ricans or minorities in general. Not a whole lot to do, but you've got these beautiful buildings. It's cheap. People are nice. There's a really nice castle on the hill. And it's quiet. There are no Americans too, which is, I've come to really hate American tourists. I do. You're running. There are not too many of them in Budapest, but in Krakow, they're all over the place. And one really dumb fucking thing they do is they always wear their backpacks backwards. Like, you seen that maneuver? They wear their, they put it on backwards so that the backpack part is on their chest. Because, like, what are they, afraid of thieves? Like, we're talking about, if you do that in like, Paris, that would make sense because there are Muslims everywhere. But Krakow is probably one of the safest cities on the continent. There's like 5 black people in Krakow at any given moment, and they're too afraid to leave the house after dark. So all these geeks running around with their backpacks backwards, screaming about how they're going to go to Auschwitz tomorrow. And I'm thinking to myself, I do wish you would go to Auschwitz, but in a totally different capacity.
I want to go to Auschwitz one time, and I want to wear a T-shirt. Like, I saw a T-shirt at the store a couple weeks ago, and it had the little robot people from Doctor Who, and it said "Exterminate" under it. And I want to get that T-shirt and go to Auschwitz one time and see if they throw me out. And if they throw me out, I'll be like, "Fucking Murica!"
You won't even get arrested for it. Like that's the thing you were talking about. Like the Holocaust denial laws. Like out here, they're actually fairly lax on that. Like a few years ago, there were a pair of Turkish tourists who went to Auschwitz and did the Nazi salute. They were arrested, but they were released on their own recognizance like 2 days later. They immediately went back to Turkey. And while they were convicted of a prison sentence, they were never extradited or anything. They were never required to go back, so they never actually served anything. Their biggest thing that happened to them was that they were in jail for 2 days. Same thing in Hungary. Like, there was actually an incident where this guy was actually going around loudly denying the Holocaust in public, and the police came up to him and like, "Look, dude, we really don't want to have to arrest you. Just stop it, okay? Just stop it."
I think my favorite Holocaust joke is back when Comedy Central used to do those celebrity roasts. Back when Comedy Central was worth watching, which seems like a million years ago now. They mentioned something about David Hasselhoff. Gilbert Gottfried was saying, like, David Hasselhoff has sold like 8 million records in Germany. And he goes, "But you know what? Like a lot of things out of Germany, I suspect those numbers are inflated, if not a complete hoax."
Wretched 42S did the toilets empty out on the tracks? They probably did. I didn't use it because, well, okay, I did use one squat toilet. This was when I was coming home a couple days ago to Budapest. I had gone to a coffee shop and I'd had an energy drink, and so my bladder was about to burst. I got to the Murica train station and I'm looking for the bathrooms. Bathrooms aren't part of the main building. They're in a separate building, which already bodes ill. I walk up to them and well, like this is something that genuinely shocked me when I came over here. But in Europe, you have to pay to use the toilets. Like seriously, in public places like train stations and whatnot. Americans, we you can use the toilets for free in most cases. In Europe, you got to pay money. It's usually not much, but in this particular case, the toilet that they expected me to pay money for was squat toilets that smelled like. And the woman who was monitoring the place, she was cleaning out the squat toilets by filling up a bucket full of tap water, no soap or anything, just tap water, and throwing them on the squat toilets. I paid 4 hryvnia for the privilege of urinating in one of those holes, which is about 15 cents, and I still feel like I was cheated.
That's fucking funny.
It was either that or do it in a bush and in broad daylight. They probably would have had the police beat me or something.
I don't know. That reminds me of that Spoonie line back when he was funny, where he was talking about some shitty game and he's like, I paid $1 for this and I still feel cheated. Like I paid to have sex with a monkey. A dude.
Pumpkinhead's Revenge?
Yeah, a dude monkey. I still feel dirty and cheated.
I am Cancer 624S. Wait, the Europeans still have fanny packs? I don't know. I don't really see them. I only see Americans using backpacks, for example. Well, I don't use a backpack because I'm not a kindergartner. But in Budapest, you mainly have British stag partiers. There are a few Americans here, but not that many. Way more of in Krakow because again, Auschwitz and all that. So. I don't know. I can't stand being around other Americans out here. Maybe it's just the fact that the people who go on the backpacking circuit are just they're such fucking human trash. They are okay, you're in Europe. You're in a place full of beautiful history, castles, art museums, beautiful medieval architecture, cities that have been around since longer than your bloodline has been in the U.S. And all these people want to do is they want to go to these awful ruin pubs, get drunk on the same shitty mass market beer, and urinate on classic and urinate in public or vomit in public. If you were just. What's the point of going to a place going across continents if you're just going to do the same shit you do at home?
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I don't have a great deal of interest in going to Europe at all. But if I did, it'd be look at historical shit.
Yeah, I went to Murica because I wanted to go to that historic Hungarian castle, Palanok Castle, and it was really cool. I might throw some pictures of that on my blog. It's this medieval castle that was built for the Hungarian Rákóczi dynasty in the 14th century, and most of it's still pretty well preserved. The western bastion's falling apart, but the rest of it's painted. It's beautiful. You can explore pretty much the entire thing. All these little hidey holes, secret locations. Beautiful views of the mountains and the city. They've got a restaurant on site that's pretty good. They've got these great history galleries and whatnot. A lot of the information isn't in English, but some of the some of the stuff is, and you don't really need an English translation to enjoy a beautiful view. And it only costs, I think, about for $1.50 is the price of admission. But you don't. But I went to this Palanok Castle, and I was the only person there who spoke English. The only other people there were Ukrainians, obviously, but Czechs, Slovaks, Hungarians, and a few Poles. All the Americans, they come over here and they just want to get drunk and vomit on themselves, and the Brits too. The fucking Brits.
Cue Commonwealth talking about the Anglosphere.
Yes.
So changing gears a little bit, somebody I'd actually I'd like to get on the show, believe it or not. I found his channel recently called Teddy Rubskin. and it's like a gaming review channel mostly. But the guy, like he doesn't appear on camera. He does it like his character is a little teddy bear that is incredibly foul mouthed and talks almost like Carl from Aquitaine. It's good shit, and he reviews a lot of Genesis games primarily. It'd be kind of cool to get that guy on a show at some point. He's not huge. He's only got like 18,000 subscribers, and his videos only average less than 1,000 views a piece. I mean, his view count's about where mine is. But yeah, I remember, like, I think one of the first videos I saw of his when he was reacting to that Tumblr Cats Roar thing where everything looks like Steven Universe. And he's sitting there and he's all like, people are asking me what I think about the new Thundercats cartoon. And I'm just like, I don't know. I ain't seen it. And then he's like, but it's fucking Thundercats. How bad can it be? And then, like, he starts watching. He's like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? Good stuff. Somebody asked, what's the worst thing about being black and Jewish? Having to sit in the back of the oven. JF Gonzalez says, I attended Cal Arts. Ask me anything. Holy shit, dude. I don't know. Why would be the best question.
Do you enjoy suffering?
Yeah.
Oh, and to answer Ian McDonald's question, he asked what a Gopnik is. The Gopnik is like the East Slavic equivalent of white trash. Like, you know, the stereotypical Russians who, like, you know, they wear tracksuits and they squat all the time and they've got like acne for some reason, like getting into random fights. That's a Gopnik. They're basically like the Russian equivalent of the alt-right.
Somebody asked, why am I not on Twitter? I was thrown off Twitter for vile hate speech. I do, however, there's a Twitter for the show. It's just run by Luke. He tweets stuff I tell him sometimes, but I'm not actually directly on Twitter at all. And J. Gonzalez says it was a dream school, but yes, I did suffer. I don't know what's up with them. I mean, when you've become synonymous with a certain style of cartoons, it's just way too prevalent and kind of soy. I mean, I don't think an art school should just be known as everybody that it churns out has the exact same fucking style.
Yeah, it'd be like if Berkeley College of Music was known for churning out the people with the exact same musical style. Well, it certainly does produce people who don't seem to understand the fundamentals of music theory. Owen.
Now, don't be bullying again. Can't have you bullying people on the interwebs.
Yeah, I got to be a good boy.
Can't.
So I got my rosary, so I should probably start, learning the virtue of forgiveness.
I don't know. I've been very neutral to Jordan. I don't have any ill will to Jordan. He's still welcome on here, but that was gay as fuck, pulling that shit.
I didn't even try that hard. I was just shit posting. Like, me trying would be like, I would have to connect to a VPN because you can't use Super Chat in Ukraine, and I just sent Super Chats asking about his favorite brand of diapers or something. I didn't even do that. Okay. Trying would be, expending my own money in an attempt to harm him, but no, he didn't. I didn't. Well, I didn't mean to piss him off to get him to cancel the debate, man.
I told him point blank, and I'll say this publicly. If you have that much of a problem with Forney, if he gets to you that much, then what you need to do is you need to make a response video, or hop your ass onto the Kumite with him, or on this channel, or just fucking ignore it already. But
to be perfectly honest, I
was like, Forney likes fucking with you, and you apparently like letting him.
Well, I mean, I don't really have any particular animus against Jordan Owen anymore. Like, I did years ago. I don't now. The reason I fuck with him is because it's funny. Okay, he's the Dean S mate to my Mr. Medicare.
That's exactly what I told him. I said, look, the primary reason he likes to fuck with you is because it obviously works. Like, I mean, if you would get on a fucking debate with him, even if he pushed your shit in, that would be the end of it. He would be bored with it then after that. Like, just do it already.
Yes, stop edging me, Jordan. It's giving me blue balls.
Like, just and he's trying to tell me all these things that, like, he's like, well, Forney's wrong about this, Forney's wrong about this, and I'm like, dude, just then go live with him and make a fool of him. All right, I'm tired of you reacting this way to him. I'm tired of, like, just stop reacting like a fucking vampire to a cross every time you see him. Oh, he shit posted in a chat. I'm not trying to be mean to the guy, but I am mildly pissed. Okay, he bucked out of something over bullshit. Like, he's like, why did Forney have a moderator wrench? And it's like, because they just give moderator wrenches to regulars because I don't want to have to babysit the chat. You know, some nights I don't even look at the chat. The chat belongs to the audience as far as I'm concerned. I don't have to fucking babysit that shit.
To be fair, like, if this is how Jordan Owen is going to react, walking away from the internet was probably a very wise decision on his part. Because I have no ill will against Jordan. Okay, there's nothing personal here, dude. It just, and I seriously hope whatever issues you've been going through, I hope life turns out well for you. I made jokes about how I'm going to pursue you to the end of the earth bullying. He's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Okay. I couldn't even be bothered to muster up a super chat, which would have definitely caused the wheels to fall off the train a lot sooner.
Oh, I think he would. If he reacted that badly to you being in chat, I think a super chat from you would have just left the call. And I tried to warn him before because I actually thought that he'd get more haters. I thought that there'd be a lot of people in this corner of the internet that would be sending me super chats, calling him a fag. So I told him right before the show, I said, look, I'm not going to try and corner you on stuff you can't talk about or anything like that. I know, you have NDAs and stuff, and I don't want to dig up the drama between you and Davis anyways. So I'm not going to try and corner you on stuff you can't talk about. What I am going to tell you, though, is that if I get super chats, I have to read super chats. Okay? I don't have to respond to super chats. You certainly don't have to respond to them. But I have to at least read them. That's the social construct of the super chat. I have to at least read it. So if I read super chats, and you don't want to respond to them, just don't respond to them. Because I was afraid, there'd be a million super chats, be calling him a fag or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, my attempt to get Mr. Murica and King of Paul on the case failed miserably. So even the people who ordinarily would torment Jordan Owen don't give a shit anymore, which is something he should be thankful for, by the way.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, people were going after you, but then people just lose interest on the internet. The
internet moves on. It's a speedy place with a 24/7 news cycle. People got new.
Simultaneously an infinite and incredibly short memory.
I mean, look at internet blood sports was the big format du jour earlier this year, and it burned itself out a couple months ago. Hell, a year ago, the alt-right was riding high. Now anyone who uses the term alt-right gets fucking summarily banned unless they're using it in a derogatory manner, which is the only way it should be used.
But yeah, if Jordan returned, he mentioned returning the video. He's not going to get attacked by people on the right that much. Yeah, there might be response videos and stuff, but there's not going to be Medicare's probably not going to be hopping in on it. The only reason King of Pole made a video was to distract everyone from his recent embarrassment, and which Jordan was right to call him out on that. He was like, King of Pole's just making this video on me because he got embarrassed recently, and he wants everyone to forget that.
Get some of that sweet, sweet boy pussy.
But yeah, you're not going to, you're still going to be attacked by the left because, you're to the right. If you're to the right of Bill Clinton from the 90s, then yeah, you're going to be attacked by the left. they're never gonna be civil with you.
Jay Gonzalez asks in the chat, like, "Oh, so you like Owen? Would you have a civil discussion with him?" I don't like Owen, but I just don't wish him any ill will. I don't feel anything towards him. I feel about the same for him as I feel for. Actually, I hate my neighbors more because my neighbors are far more of an active impediment to my lifestyle. And it's worth I'd have a civil discussion with them. Like, yeah, whatever.
Well, I told him, I said, look, I mean, if you want to do it on my channel, I can make sure everybody takes turns. I make sure nobody's interrupting anybody. They can. I mean, obviously, Jordan had a legal agreement that there's certain things he is not allowed to talk about. So I said to him, well, then, those would be off limits, and I wouldn't let Matt bring them up. I'm not going to let Matt bring up something you're not allowed to discuss. That's not fucking fair, is it? That's like, I'm not going to do that. If you're legally not allowed to discuss something, then we're not going to discuss it. I'm not going to let the other guy ramble on about it. You can't fucking respond. That ain't fair. But whatever. If he wants to do it, he wants to do it. He is welcome on this channel anytime. But there's only so much accommodations I can do for you. And I'm not going to police the chat. I'm not going to. I'm not going to play the guilt by association game. I'm not responsible for what Forney says. I'm not responsible for what Davis says. I'm not responsible for what Jordan says. These are, friends, people I've had on the channel, whatever. I'm not responsible for any of that shit. I'm responsible for what I've said. Guilt by association was gay as fuck when people did it to you, Jordan. It's gay as fuck if you do it to me. Let's see.
Richard Bechtel asks, whatever happened to the cute black girl neighbor? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't pay attention to my neighbors. Like, my only time I pay attention to my neighbors is when I'm forced to. Because I'm surrounded by gypsies and low-class Hungarians who insist on making noise at all hours of the night. There's the guy who still beats his fucking wife at 6:30 in the morning on the dot, waking me up.
Well, that's the only way she'll learn.
Well, the problem is that she is apparently not learning because he's been doing it every day for the past 6 months.
Maybe she has a learning disability. Bechtloff, or somebody says, Bechtloff, I fear a Forney Owen debate would turn into another Beardson thing. Well, here's the thing.
You mean we're gonna yell at each other and then we're gonna become best friends?
Well, the thing about it is, though, at this point, I would make sure people took their turns, but also I wasn't getting super chats when the Beardson thing. If I was getting super chats at that point, I might have felt differently about the situation. Having two people scream shit at each other while you just sit there fucking dumbfounded. And that's the other thing. I wasn't expecting that thing to go that way either. I didn't think it was going to devolve so quick, so fast. And I freely admit, it got out of my hands and it just lost control of it. It's like a dog jerking on a leash, and the dog is stronger than you expect it. So the leash rips out of your hand, and then he's over the horizon. You can't even. The dog's gone. All right. Somebody says, Forney, you influenced my view of homosexuals in a large way. Before I had nothing against them. Last 2 years, I don't have much against them, but now I want them to stay far away from me.
Hey, don't thank me. Thank God, as Common Filth used to put it. I ain't saying anything that's particularly original on that subject.
Well, I mean, I said this about trannies, that the best thing you can do to combat the tranny agenda is to shine light on what the fuck being a tranny is like. I mean, especially post-op, especially the nightmare existence that is post-op. I mean, dilation stations and shit like that. That's part of why I've been doing all these porn star confessional videos and shit like that. Now, yeah, I've kind of backed off them a little bit because it did get a touch old. Amazingly, it got boring. But shining a light on that's kind of important because it's very easy to look at porn, at least well-made porn, and just see it as glamorous. beautiful people having wild sex, and everything just seems oh so perfect, but that's just not the case, is it?
And then some chick gets a yeast infection.
Yeah, exactly. But just past what you see is people pooping on each other by accident. You know what I mean?
Still can't fucking believe there's yeast infection porn out there.
Ugh.
I started thinking of like all this shit. Like I actually watched The Fly last night, the movie with Jeff Goldblum. That's a pretty good analogy for like trannies and all this degeneracy in general. You think you think you're becoming more potent, more powerful, more moral when you engage in this stuff, but all it does is disfigure you. And then by the end of life, people are going to be begging for the end. Like the scene with the deformed Brundlefly at the end, grabbing the shotgun barrel out of the girl's hand and putting it against its own head. That's haunting.
Mm-hmm. That's a great movie.
Fucking great. I mean, my favorite Cronenberg movie is Videodrome, but The Fly is up there too.
Yeah. Dilation, menstruation, crustacean station. It's a reference to a meme I shared. There's this, those memes where it's like, text conversations and phone and stuff. There's like a picture of this like little crab butler holding a tray statue. There's a bunch of tampons on it, and somebody sends that picture and says, "Why is this in our bathroom?" And the other girl responds, "It's a menstruation crustacean station." And so yeah, now we have dilation. We have dilation crustacean stations now. That same crab holding up those glass dildos they have to use.
I have to ask the obvious question. I mean, you pointed out that having sex with a tranny is fucking an open wound. How can what sort of pleasure do they derive from that? Do they derive any pleasure? Is it even possible? I mean, I'm trying to imagine. Like I've cut myself pretty badly. I once had an incident where I nearly sliced my finger off. I was dripping arterial blood everywhere. Like, and that fucking hurt. Now I'm trying to imagine like an object, a thick object that's 8 inches long being thrust into it at high speed. That wouldn't be fun.
Even if the wound is largely healed to where it's basically just skin inside it. No, I can't. Look, I can understand how somebody can get pleasure from being fucked in the ass. I've known women that say, once they're used to it, it feels good. Obviously with a guy, something's hitting your prostate and that can feel very good. I can understand that. But yeah, the best case scenario is it would feel like nothing. You know what I mean? It would feel like, I don't know, like a dick between your thighs or something. You know what I mean? Like that seems like the best possible scenario for that kind of situation.
I told you a story of a friend that I told to me who took a fat girl home once and fucked her hard and came very fast. And he was like to her, how was that? And he's like, I wish you. And then he realized, oh shit, I wasn't putting her in her vagina. I was fucking her crotch crease.
Ugh. That is a very, very fat woman then.
Well, it's like a moped. Fun to ride until somebody sees you with one.
I mean, I've been with some girls that had a few extra pounds, and Lord knows I need to lose some weight myself, but I've never been with a girl that was big enough where that would have been a fucking possibility.
You gotta imagine how unclean she was too. That
you couldn't.
The crotch crease is so slick.
Yeah, skin and a vagina.
It's like that video that Luke always refers to, the Aiden Baldwin video on trannies, and how they can somehow get erections with their inverted vaginas.
Oh my god, their body divides by 0.
They're like the slimes from Ultima Online.
So he says trannies can't have pleasure and most can't finish. Honestly, now I realize that, as Common Filth often points out, it's not necessarily the best thing to be arguing which degeneracy is worse. But at the same time, fucking a pre-op tranny is way less degenerate than fucking a post-op. First of all, there's a chance the pre-op's getting pleasure out of it because again, you're hitting the prostate. And that's just fucking an ass. That's just sodomy, okay? Not necessarily the best thing to be engaging in, but like with the post-op training, they didn't even tell you not to do that in the Bible because it hadn't occurred to anybody yet.
Transsexuality and negative interest rates. We're hitting levels of degeneracy that shouldn't even be possible.
If they were writing down scripture and somebody says, "Oh, make sure you put in there not to turn your penis inside out and fuck the open wound," they'd all look at that guy like, "I don't think that's necessary to write down." Nobody would do such a thing. Let's see. Waffle Evil says, "Happy Murica Day, guys." This is a super chat, $10. Thank you, by the way. Did immigrants draft the Declaration of Independence? Fact. 56 people signed it. 48 people born in America colonies. 2 England, 2 Ireland, 2 Scotland, 1 Wales, 1 Northern Ireland. Well, see, back then,
diversity is our strength.
They weren't immigrants; they were settlers. See, we're not a nation of immigrants; we're a nation of settlers. Like all nations, like all nations are if you go back far enough.
We were not a nation of immigrants because there was no government to immigrate to in the 1600s.
Yeah, we're a nation of settlers. And at some point, somebody had to be the first person to go to a particular land and say, let's build something here. All right.
Nassim Taleb had a good point on this when you talk about how, like, everyone's an immigrant and blah blah blah. We should take an immigrant, and the U.S. should take in immigrants because like the Americans immigrated here too. Is like, is there a statute of limitations on this? Like, our migrations, are we going to go back to like the Bronze Age periods and migrations like that, the Stone Age? Are the Neanderthals going to demand reparations from the Cro-Magnons for invading Europe? At what point does it end?
There's one I saw where it was like the picture of like an Indian chief, right? And then there's a picture of a velociraptor, and they're kind of just staring at each other. And then the velociraptor goes, "Get the fuck off my land." If you're going to go with who was there first. And the other thing about like, whining about the Native Americans, the East Coast was bought fair and square. The Pilgrims had very strong ideas. Early American settlers had very strong ideas about property rights and things like that. And, half the time, even when the fucking natives had no idea about it, they were still compensating them for land that was taken.
Yes, Manhattan. The Dutch bought Manhattan in a fair and equitable business deal. And if you're bitching about how the natives didn't get enough in compensation, well, too bad for them for not being able to count.
Yeah, if you got seller's remorse, that's not our problem. The East Coast was bought fair and square. Now, as for the West Coast, I admit we got a little grabby. But you know what? That's really a beef you have with the federal government, isn't it? And I'm not too fond of the federal government either. So,
which on the days that Americans kicked the British ass and showed them to be a bunch of faggots, Millennial Woes blocked Terror House magazine on Twitter.
Why? What'd you do to him?
Well, the guy running it, Millennial was asked a question about whether Trap's penises function, and the guy who ran the account says, like, well, why don't you ask your boyfriend, Greg Johnson?
Oh, man.
Oh, here was his witty reply. You can ask your boyfriend, Davis Arini. See, we can all fall out. Clever us.
Yes, except, neither one of you are homosexuals. At the very least, you're not open about it because nobody's heard about it yet. So, at the very least, if you are, you have the good decency to keep quiet about it. Like, why does everyone? What isn't Millennial was the one that told everyone he was bi?
Well, yeah, in videos,
somebody like times. It's not like somebody outed him. don't put it out there if you don't want people talking about it.
Gotta love it when people will block you and then they'll tweet about you from behind the block.
I like to call that the Lindsay Ellis maneuver. Well, probably gonna wrap this up because I do gotta get ready. I got a barbecue I gotta go to later, and I gotta do some shit around here beforehand. So yeah, folks, if you enjoy the show, do consider checking out the Patreon, the PayPal, the Amazon wish list, all that good stuff. Helps me keep doing what I'm doing. I don't know. I might set up like a stretch goal on the Patreon just for shits and giggles. Maybe I'll say for $5,000 I'll film the Bechtloff movie. And by film the Bechtloff movie, I mean I'll pretend to film it while I fall into an alcoholic stupor. All right. Well, Forney, thanks for hopping in.
Yeah, no problem, man.
And that's about all I got for tonight, folks. I don't know if anybody else is streaming later tonight. Davis lives up in Canada.
I am, obviously, so
they don't have freedom up there, so he's not going to be celebrating Freedom Day. Canada Day was Sunday, I think. But nobody cares, not even Canada. All right, folks, that's about all we got for tonight. Today. Thanks everybody for listening, and Bechtloff out.